Life on the River, written and told by Kiefer Adams. There are many types of non-rail vehicle on the island of Sodor. There are helicopters like Harold, buses and cars like Bertie and Caroline. There are steam-powered vehicles like Trevor and George. Construction vehicles like Jack and the Sodor Construction Company, and the occasional lorry. But there was also plenty of watercraft on the island, such as canal boats which glided gently across the lakes of Sodor. You could also see a fishing boat or two at the Normanby village. These were Arthur the Red Tank Engine's favourite sights to see. But there was one type of boat that some of the engines remembered from long ago that, thanks to the admiral, was going to be put back in service very soon. One bright morning, Thomas was making his way to the Normanby fishing village to help Arthur with some shunting. Thomas didn't like the smell of fish, but something on the water made him forget all about it. There on the ocean was a beautiful paddle steamer, painted white and black and covered in bunting. "Is that what I think it is?" asked Thomas. "It is," said his driver. "It's Lakesider III." Lakesider III had been a beautiful attraction in the early days of the railway. It was a paddle steamer that used to provide tours across the narrow gauge railway. The boat had not been used in years, but the admiral wanted to restore it. He waved from the boat's hull to Thomas. "I say, Thomas, what do you think of this?" he asked. "She's wonderful, sir," said Thomas, "but why have you restored her?" "Lakesider III is going to give tours from the Maritime Museum," replied the admiral, "but I want to give her a test run first to see how well she can handle. After that, I will put her back into full service at the Maritime." "Good luck, sir," called Thomas. With a deep rumbling hoot, Lakesider III came to life and paddled away down the ocean. "What a majestic sight," said Thomas as he watched the boat drift away. It wasn't just Thomas who was mesmerised by the return of Lakesider III. Many of the Fat Controller's engines remembered seeing Lakesider III in her glory days and talked endlessly about it. "I was still painted in my furnace colours when she was put into service the first time," Edward said to Emily at the docks. "I remember collecting passengers from her when I was first put in charge of the express," said Gordon grandly. "She must be a majestic-looking boat," said Emily. "Oh, she is," said Edward. "Lakesider III got her name because she used to sail across the lakes of Sodor," said Gordon. "She also gave rides on the narrow gauge railway." "I'm sure Rheneas and Scarloey would be delighted to see Lakesider back in service again," said Edward. The engines were just blown away with Lakesider III's return. But later that day, there was trouble. James was making his way back to the yards from the docks, having just delivered some cargo to Cranky. As he was puffing along, James spotted Lakesider III up ahead. But the paddle steamer didn't look well. As James drew near, he was shocked to see dark smoke billowing from the boat's stack and around its rotating paddles. "Goodness me!" cried James. The admiral burst out of the cab and waved. "James, we've got an emergency!" he shouted. "Lakesider III has blown her engine. We can't get back to Normanby." "I'll see if I can find help," shouted James, and he hurried down the line as quickly as he could. None of the engines would be able to rescue Lakesider III, but if a spare boat could be found, or even a barge, then there was a chance. James met up with Toby at Bluff's Cove and told him the situation. "Don't worry," Toby said. "I know just where to go." and he and Henrietta hurried out of the station. How are we supposed to rescue something that we can't reach?" asked Henrietta. "I've got that taken care of," said Toby. Toby thundered down the line until he reached Tidmouth Beach. He stopped suddenly. Henrietta was confused. "Toby, we're supposed to get help, not catch the sun rays." "Bear with me," said Toby as he started to scan the beach. "I'm looking for—" "Aha!" he cried. Toby found exactly what he was looking for on the beach. He then pulled quickly away again. "Toby!" protested Henrietta. "What's going on?" "Once I've found a mechanic," said Toby, "you'll understand." And Toby continued puffing up the line. A little later, Percy was at the Sodor River Bridge with some holidaymakers. They had all been looking forward to seeing Lakesider III pass under the bridge, but she hadn't showed. Just as Percy was about to take the holidaymakers home, he heard a familiar horn in the distance. "It can't be," he exclaimed. And sure enough, there rumbling towards him was Bulstrode, an old barge that Percy was very familiar with.
"Hello, Percy,"
called Bulstrode.
"Long time no see, eh?"
Percy was just about to protest why Bulstrode was back in service when he noticed the admiral in the barge's hull, surrounded by fish, seaweed and crab shells. "What's going on?" asked Percy. "Toby managed to bring a mechanic to restore this incredible barge," said the admiral. "He's taken us back to Normanby, and then he'll tow in Lakeside III, where she'll have much repair." "Oh, well done, Bulstrode," said Percy, unsure what to make of it. Bulstrode returned to collect Lakeside III after taking the admiral back to Normanby. The paddle steamer was soon restored and now gives rides around the Maritime Museum. As for Bulstrode, he was more than happy to be back in service too, and currently resides at the docks. And now, Bulstrode and Lakeside III are two old faces back on the water once more.